Hello, meatbags.
The power of Christ compels you. The power of Christ compels you.
Today, I really want to do a video about free speech, about the whole situation with Roseanne and Samantha Bee. And it could have been maybe a small rant or something. But then I see this video of Riley Dennis's, I guess, girlfriend, wife, I don't care. I don't really follow him. And through Common Bomb, asked if I could do it myself. He was obliged to say yes. Go ahead and watch his version of the video in the description below. So, let's dive in, shall we, into this headache-inducing bullshit.
So this week was wild in terms of news. I'm sure most of you have heard about this because I went out to a bar the other night and it was on all of the TVs, but Roseanne was canceled for being super racist.
The reboot of the show Roseanne wasn't necessarily racist, nor was it intended to be. The joke itself, however, when I read it, I found it fucking hilarious. Not because the woman was black and she made the differentiation she was a chimp. I mean, only fucking retards would assume that she was talking about she said a chimp, meaning she was black instead of, the makeup from the goddamn movie was so fucking horrible that it had to be, pointed out that she kind of looked like it. Not the fact that she looked like a fucking monkey. You see what happens when you fucking reach out to grab something that's not there? You kind of pop your arm out of your shoulder trying to reach that far.
I've fallen, and I can't get up.
And can we please discuss this fucking hand under the chin pose that you, your fucking toy, your fucking friends, the other fucking social justice warriors like yourselves and other fucking libtards just love to fucking do? What is even this pose? It doesn't make, it fucking aggravates me, alright? It just fucking aggravates me. This pose is kind of a default. You should have known this by now, and I'm just gonna be the one who has to fucking teach you this shit kind of pose. The I'm looking down on you kind of pose. All it does is remind me of Uncle Rico.
Racist. Let's just insert footage of me trying to be shocked.
I bet you didn't even watch the fucking show. So let's insert me being shocked that you of just spewing shit out of your mouth about something you never even watched.
So let's get into what happened here. Roseanne was on Twitter and she released a controversial tweet. And if you're familiar with Roseanne's Twitter at all, you'll know is a mistake.
Pay attention to this. Now, why would she ever say this? Why would she say it was a mistake? Is it because this woman did not live to her standards, did not believe what she believed, and therefore shouldn't exist? Does that mean it's a mistake? The only reason why it's a mistake is because she openly said what she said. That's what freedom of speech is. You get to say what the fuck you want to say and deal with the consequences later on, as we can see. And it just goes to show you just how much this person and people like her just don't give a flying fuck about freedom of speech.
Why is it that people that really should be on Twitter the least are on Twitter the most?
Because here's the thing, Marina. There is about a lot of people that say the same thing about you and people like you, including your fuckboy over there. But here's the thing. I would defend you. I would defend your right to have your Twitter and have whatever the fuck you want to say. It's the most entertaining thing I've ever seen in my life. When liberals and, far left liberals want to go out and tweet out a whole bunch of horse shit. And I had a look on your Twitter there and see that you bought the whole Trump is taking children away from parents, hook, line, and fucking sinker. It's astounding that you're that blind to the fact that people would lie on the internet, especially reporters, journalists will lie to push an agenda. etc., etc., and etc.
You know, it's a sad state of society when this could be about multiple people.
People who you disagree with or do not like do not deserve to be censored. You know what that leads to? Look what's happening to the UK when snowflakes like yourself are bitching, crying, and moaning to the government to do something about people they don't like or people they don't agree with. They basically now just censoring the entirety of the internet. Both sides are now going to be censored, and you have to lie in the bed you have made. This is what happens when you give the government too much power. When you bitch, cry, and moan for them to do something, and they finally do it, and it's something affects you when you only want it to affect them. But here's the thing, that's not how life works. When one side is censored, and something needs to be censored that pertains to something that you like, then it has to be also censored. And then you're going to sit down in your chair wondering why your favorite show is being censored out of the ass. Because you helped this problem. You helped the censorship occurred. Now look at the UK. You having people arrested for quoting rap lyrics. Or like Count Dankula's case, having their girlfriend's dog being trained to do the Nazi salute to spur their lover because they can't stand them calling the dog cute anymore. And now police are now threatening their citizens if they are, questioning them, criticizing them, making fun of them. They'll come over there and arrest them. And that's scary. That's what happens when you bitch, moan, and cry a lot to get someone, something, or everything censored. This is what happens. It snowballs down a hill to it affects everyone.
And it is. So in this tweet, which I think has been deleted.
It makes you look really unprofessional when you do this, and no one will really take you seriously. Take a notebook from your girlfriend, I guess, because she can structure a fucking video really well and doesn't look like a complete asshole while doing it. I mean, he kind of does.
Roseanne referred to Obama's former White House advisor, Valerie Jarrett, as if the Muslim Brotherhood and Planet of the Apes had a baby. So... Of course, we had to bring in the Islamophobia.
It's not an irrational fear to be afraid of Islam, because if you look over the state of where Islam is rampant, you can see stoning of women, rape of women, killing of gays, and brutal, just horrible crimes to the people who dare disobey Islam. There are many reasons to be afraid of people who are really religious when it comes to Islam. But let's flip it over. Let's go back a few hundred years. When witch burning was rampant in America back in the few centuries we had, would you say these people were Christian phobic for not letting people do what the Bible tells them to do, which is kill people who go against the Bible? Which right now, you don't really see that often. It's a little bit rare for people to kill people in the name of God in America. Because that is the key difference between Christianity and Islam. Christianity has evolved with the times. We know not to fucking kill people who have a disbelief in God. You don't see Christians beating the ever-loving shit out of atheists. However, you do see Islamic people beating the shit out of atheists and even killing atheists and even Christians in attacks. There is a good reason why there are people who are afraid of Islam, the religion of quote-unquote peace.
Driving down the road in a truck of peace on a busy highway. Driving down the road in a truck of peace. Who do you think we'll bump into today?
Which I talked about in my previous Roseanne video that got a lot of people saying that Roseanne wasn't racist, but
I object, Your Honor!
boy, were you all wrong.
I object, Your Honor, and I move to strike!
On what grounds, Marina, do you feel like you are in the right? Because you feel like you are right? Because that doesn't make you right.
ABC responded swiftly to Roseanne's racist comments, which is unusual.
What?
Of course, they were waiting for her to fuck up. Now they have legitimate grounds to fire her.
Saying, Roseanne's Twitter statement is abhorrent, repugnant, and inconsistent with our values, and we have decided to cancel her show. There's a really great tweet that I saw in response to this that said, ABC fires Roseanne, says she crossed the line from being racist enough to have a TV show to slightly too racist to have a TV show.
That absolutely made no goddamn sense.
There was also another really good tweet, which I don't know how to find anymore, that said, to be fair, it's probably confusing for Roseanne to understand the difference between racism that gets you fired and racism that gets you elected president of the United States.
You mean this fucking tweet that I and Bomb had to find for you because you were just that lazy and can't, open up your fucking laptop or click your phone open and just find it on YouTube with those exact fucking words? Really? You can't do that yourself? And let's talk about the tweet. If this is another thing of badgering the president, Trump, for being quote unquote racist. Someone who wants to protect the country from bad people who come over illegally, like MS-13, the malicious psychotic gang that kills people just for the fuck of it? Or how about the Muslim Brotherhood or radical Islamic terrorism? Oh wait, we can't say that because that is racist.
Oh, we're living in hell.
Maybe through your eyes, you're living in your own hell. I'm living in a normal world, thank you.
What? I think one of my favorite things about this whole situation is that after Roseanne tried to blame her racist tweet on taking Ambien,
It was a fucking joke, you cunts!
I know they tend to fly over your fucking head like a comet, but that tends to happen. However, it can be a legitimate case with Ambien users if you know a lot of their stories. She goes into vivid detail why she took Ambien because of scheduling and all the stress she was in and hard to get a good night rest, so she had to take Ambien. And I'll explain to you why this is a legitimate case here in a second, folks.
the maker of Ambien responded saying that racism is not a side effect of taking Ambien.
But do you know what is a side effect of Ambien? Lucid dreaming and sleepwalking. People will get up in the middle of the night or in the middle of the day and do shit and not even remember it. Joe Rogan has made this joke multiple times and has told this story before. I'll put a link in the description below. It's fucking hilarious. Where his friend went to the store, bought a turkey, came back home, stuffed it, cooked it, ate it, went to bed, got up the next morning, called the police. These people have no idea what the hell happened the next day or when they get up. Another form of why people take Ambien is to get really, really fucked up if you can stay up. And if you don't, you sleep. It's really hard to stay awake when you're on Ambien. It punks out NyQuil like son bitch. So forgive me if I laughed at the makers of Ambien when they try to cover their ass when their product has a major sleepwalking side effect.
Mwah, just amazing. conservatives who are outraged at the cancellation of Roseanne responded by trying to come after Bill Maher. And my response to this is, please do.
I don't feel so good.
We have when a conservative woman, mind you, I can't believe you're not on the side of the woman, because you usually are, but she's a conservative, so fuck her anyway, says a racial joke, she needs to be nailed to a fucking cross. However, when a liberal man makes a house niggas joke, but he gets applauded by liberals with tears streaming down their face, clapping hysterically for no fucking reason. And since we're on the double standard of telling jokes, let's state the fact of the whole Kathy Griffin incident, where she jokingly, off-color joke, a really bad joke, of holding up a severed Trump head and causing a major upset of the country, including myself. She apologized, which she should have apologized for, and it almost ended her career. But you know what the funny thing of this is? A couple of months after, apologizing sincerely, it sounded like a sincere apology. Everyone with a fucking brain knows that she didn't mean a fucking word of it, and guess what? We were fucking right! A couple of months after she made that sincere apology, she says she regrets making that apology and actually takes it back. It's because, you want to know the funny thing is, because she knows that nothing will happen to her or her career. And now she's going on tour again because of it. She has every right to say what she wants, but there are consequences to what you say, and she knows she will not have any consequences to what she says. If the people who agree with her are in major positions in Hollywood, so she won't get punished for her actions. So why make the apology in the first place? So she looks sympathetic. That's the whole reason why. That way she can get her foot back in the door. And she did it cleverly. We will call the double standard whatever it is. On the left, on the right. That's how you don't look like you're a total fucking hypocrite of your words.
What's confusing about conservatives calling out Bill Maher is that instead of choosing to target him for actual things that he's done that were fucked up, like using the N-word on air and his history of racist and Islamophobic remarks.
He said nigga. He was a house nigga. That's not the N-word. Nigger is. Nigger is the N-word. Nigger is the N-word. And again, he's an atheist, so he's going to state the facts about how Islam, the religion of piss, is not really a peaceful religion.
No, instead they're coming for him because one time he referred to Donald Trump as an orangutan.
Are you blind?
Because you have to be blind or you are intentionally missing the fucking point. Where she had made a connection between the Muslim Brotherhood and the Planet of the Apes, and he made a joke comparing Trump to another ape, an orangutan. So he made the exact same joke, but he got applauded because it's Trump. And she got fired and her show canceled for making a chimp joke.
I mean, sure, I guess if we all close our eyes, pretend racism doesn't exist, and act like we're colorblind, then sure, that's the same thing.
This had nothing to do with their race. This had to do with their political views. Bill Maher is liberal. Roseanne is a conservative. She got fired for making a ape joke. Bill Maher got a fucking applaud for making an ape joke.
But if you think about it for more than 2 seconds and consider the long history of ape, gorilla, etc. being used as racial slurs against black people, then they're become clearly very different things.
But if you don't reach for that, maybe because she was telling a fucking joke about how she looked like she was in makeup for Planet of the Apes, like she looks a little bit like Helena Bonham Carter from the terrible Tim Burton remake of fucking Planet of the Apes. Now, if you took 2 seconds and thought about that, you would agree and had a little laugh instead of having a poisoned mind of being racially sensitive and everyone has to be in a good fucking mood and you don't want to hurt anyone's fucking feelings. I don't want to do that. I will fucking make fun of anyone, including my own mother. Actually, please don't tell her that. I love my mother very much. Please don't tell her that.
In related news, talk show host Samantha Bee, who is known for her late night show Full Frontal, came under fire for remarks she made about Ivanka Trump. I can't say that I watch her show regularly, but the episodes I've seen I thought were really funny and just super on the nose politically.
There are 2 reasons why you agree with this notation. Is you agree with her politically. However, the other thing is, you and her have the same type of comedy. I mean, quote-unquote comedy. Okay, it's not even comedy. You rely heavily on impactful, emotional shock. It's emotional impact. It's not about jokes. It's about emotional impact. And that's a sleazy way of getting a laugh without, a laugh track or a laugh sign. Now, the reason why I say they mostly tend to use emotional impact is because they're not really there to tell jokes. They're there to push an agenda. They are there to look good in the eyes of the people that they think are in the right and want to be in that club. And it's not just comics. Just take a look at the Young Turks. They do this all the fucking time. They use emotional impact to try to sway their viewers into their line of thinking, and it always never works. For example, that dentist who shot and killed that lion, the huge uproar about that. But it turns out that the only people that actually thanked that dentist was the African tribes who were plagued by this beast. Most people should know this by now, but male lions and lions in general are in prides consistently of mostly of just one male lion and a assortment of lionesses. And 2 male lions will fight to be head of the pride. And once the old member of the pride, the leader of the pride, gets kicked out, they have to fend for themselves, either because they are old, weak, and sickly. They usually tend to go into human settlements and take away kids, the old, and the sick. They thanked this dentist for killing the lion and saving their village. This is what happens when you don't get both sides of the story. A man lost his job because people were pissing and moaning about it. And it turns out that that lion was causing the most problems in the region.
Here's some background on the Samantha Bee segment that came under fire. Samantha Bee was pointing out the fact that the US government is complicit in massive human rights violations against immigrant families.
Illegal immigrants do not have US rights, therefore there are no human rights violations in accordance to US law. However, we do not put them in fucking internment camps like people have been trying to tell everyone. In fact, the Time issued an apology to Trump himself for, fucking lying. Oh wait, I'm sorry, got caught lying and trying to cover their ass.
News recently broke that the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services lost track of 1,500 immigrant children who they were responsible for placing in foster care and with sponsors. But it has confirmed that some of them have been trafficked.
That's because they lose track of the families that illegal immigrants have placed in the care of families inside of the U.S. who don't fucking call the federal agency. So those numbers are added in. So people lose track because they can't get the people they contacted with anymore. So they lose the children. So it's not the government's fault of they lost the child because they took them away from a fucking parent. Is that illegal immigrants have found a loophole in the goddamn system to disappear with their family in their new life in America on the taxpayer's dollar.
Also, a story recently came out about a trans Honduran woman named Roxana Hernandez who was detained by ICE and later died in custody. Hernandez had spoken about the violence she was fleeing in her country. She said that trans people in her neighborhood were murdered just for being trans.
That sounds like that's a real fucking problem in Mexico. However, you want to bitch and cry and moan about how, the developed world is not catering enough to trans people while this trans person was fleeing from the country from real oppression, but somehow you want to turn this into a U.S. problem to where, yes, she has died in U.S. custody because of HIV. However, you must take into account how long she has gone without HIV medication, which in this case is 5 days, which is incredibly devastating to the body. These detention centers don't have that sort of medical care. However, I do find that you have lied in your video. According to CNN right here, it says that she was taken to the nearest emergency center to get care that she needed, and she died from HIV complications there. So she indeed got the medical attention she deserved. She did not die in the detention center. She died in a hospital where there was nothing they can do. She took a risk to come into the country illegally. She walked 5 days without medication. Again, HIV and AIDS rapidly destroys the body. So she took a chance, and it is her fault and her fault alone that she had died.
The reason she died in US custody is because she had previously been sexually assaulted by MS-13 gang members who gave her HIV.
And you still want open borders because of this. That's nice. That's very nice.
While in the ICE detention center, she was refused medical treatment.
You liar!
And died from HIV complications.
Her fault, mind you. She chose to walk 5 days in the blazing sun and the cold-ass nights in the desert to just get detained. She took the risk. That is her fault. The hospital she was at did all they could to save her. The detention center could only offer what they can offer healthcare-wise, like first aid and checkups. That is the only thing they can do. And if they find something like an emergency, they call the local hospital. And that's exactly what they did. It takes time for things to get to other things. We don't have teleporters.
Which is fucking horrible, and I don't have words for this.
My God, are you still talking?
These are massive human rights violations.
Illegal immigrants do not have the same U.S. laws as Mexico. They are still Mexican citizens, and therefore the Mexican law is applied to them. They are not U.S. citizens, therefore they do not have U.S. rights.
And the fact that the US president is more concerned with Roseanne being fired for being incredibly racist and is detracting from the situation and derailing and trying to get our attention elsewhere is so transparent.
Because there is a double standard. Because Samantha Bee called his daughter a cunt for having a Mother's Day picture with her son. And then, on top of that, she apologized as well as the network itself, only later to be awarded with an Advancing Social Change Award. Are you fucking kidding me? If the nail doesn't fit the coffin. So let's run this down. A liberal, unfunny, untalented woman with a shit show calls one of the Trump family members a cunt for having a nice photograph on Mother's Day and pulls a political bullshit card out of her ass for a already in place legislation, including in the Obama administration, which she backpedals in her acceptance speech for this Advancing Social Change Award, where she admits that previous legislation is what caused this problem, even though in the show she explicitly blames Trump for the entirety of it.
And just very fashy, let's be real.
Oh, fashy! Is that short for fascism? You want to talk about fascism? How about the lunacy that's happening on your side, Marina? Like the incident over at the Red Hen restaurant. Sarah Sanders and her family were hanging out there, but then the owner says, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. And so they did, and they went to the restaurant across the street. And guess what happened? The owner of the Red Hen tried to put together a mob to go over to that restaurant and get her kicked out there. Or what about Maxine Waters and how she's telling everybody to go after these people no matter where you go. Try to make sure they don't go to gas stations, grocery markets, movie theaters, any place. Make sure they don't have a life to run. And just let them stay in their homes and just be caged in there. Not having to speak and not having to do anything. And of course, how about Antifa, which is basically the left with clubs and Molotov cocktails, trying to silence anyone any way they can through means of violence, even trying to burn down a building that they thought Milo Yiannopoulos was staying in. That is your example of fucking fascism, you fucking retard with a nose piercing!
So essentially, Samantha Bee was shedding light on these issues, and in response to basically an oblivious photo posted from Ivanka Trump with her and her child.
There is nothing oblivious about it. The horrid and disgusting thing about it is your reaction to a mother spending her Mother's Day with her fucking son, and just so happens to be the daughter of the president of the free world. Therefore, she is not allowed to have it. She needs to be up her father's ass telling the president of the United fucking States of America how to run it. She knows she has no say in the matter. That's his job, not her job. So Samantha Bee did not shed any light other than the fact that she herself is an oblivious cunt.
Samantha Bee's point was that families are being torn apart, but sure, post a beautiful picture on Instagram.
The only reason why they are quote unquote torn apart is because the family members, the parents, are trying to do a case for them to come into the States. So the kids have to be somewhere else. And this takes time. They're not put in those little cages. Those cages are basically lobbies. They're waiting rooms until they come to a decision where they get sent off into a summer camp. A literal summer camp, not a fucking detention center that you really, really want it to be. So that way you can go, hey, we're reliving history. Oh my God, the 50s have come back. We're fucking Nazis now. Yay! Fuck Trump.
So yeah, truth be told, she shouldn't have said that. It's probably not great to be referring to other women as cunts on national television.
Are you high or just incredibly stupid?
However, I do have trouble giving a single fuck.
And she sticks the landing, folks. A great skill in mental gymnastics. She is going for the gold.
When Ivanka's father had said much worse things about women and has multiple sexual assault allegations against him.
Allegations is not the same thing as guilty. I know you want it to be that, but allegations mean It's just a report until proven guilty.
I'm sorry, but I just really struggle to care about this rich, blonde woman who is complicit in massive human rights violations.
Illegals do not have rights in America.
I really struggle to care when the reality and the bigger picture is that there are women of color and immigrants in general whose families are being torn apart.
Because the actions of the parents lead to this. Because of the parents who try to smuggle their children illegally across the country. This is entirely their fault, not ours. If a kid breaks a vase, you don't blame the vase, you blame the child.
And they are just trying to find a safe space when they are fleeing violence in their countries and our government is inflicting more violence on them.
I like how you're stating that their country is a shithole without calling it a shithole. That way you don't look like the bad guy when you're saying they're fleeing a terrible country. Which in case we're saying the same thing, but you're calling us racist for not letting them in because they're running away from a shithole.
I'm sorry, but I don't care about Samantha Bee calling Ivanka a cunt. I'm sorry. She shouldn't have said it, but...
You don't care because Ivanka Trump is Ivanka Trump. She's connected to Trump, who you despise to your core.
Ugh. It is just ridiculously hypocritical that Trump and his supporters choose to ignore sexism and misogyny on their side, but when it's convenient to them, when they can use it to boost their own argument and slander liberals, then they're suddenly going to care about sexism, but only against certain types of women, only against people that look like Ivanka Trump.
Aw, sounds like someone's inadequate about their appearance. But in any case, it's a double standard, and I call bullshit out when bullshit is needed. On both sides, left or right. I fucking hate both. I hate Republicans and I hate Democrats. One side says, I got a bad idea, and the other one says, and I can make it worse.
But God forbid we care about women of color and immigrant women who are just trying to find refuge. It is just so transparent to me when people are only capable about caring about certain types of women.
Lady, women are more likely to get sympathy just because they are a woman. It doesn't matter what it is. In America, there is no fucking rape culture because we don't like rape. We prosecute people for rape, male and female. You know, there is one story I should get on about that, on how, you know, women don't really look at, you know, raping on men, and we'll cross that bridge when it comes. But women will get sympathy, including, if not limited to, even killing their own child in cold blood.
I don't have a good end message for this, but honestly, fuck the United States. Fuck our politicians. Fuck Trump supporters. Fuck you all.
Well, such an elegant way to end the video, but you know what you can do?
Get the fuck out!
Because nothing's fucking stopping you, bitch. Nothing. How about you go with Riley to Australia? I hope you are in Australia right now. Because only fucking morons will bite the hand that feeds them. I'm Autonomous Prime. If you enjoyed the video, just click that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell because subscribing doesn't mean jack shit anymore. And if you want, you can hit that Patreon button and go to my Patreon and support me that way. And I will see you meatbags in the next video.